All right. Welcome to the Franchise Time Machine. We have a fun experiment tonight, and also wanted to recognize Shohei Otani's incredible night tonight. If you haven't already heard, I'll give you a little recap of what he did. Pretty incredible. Uh, and I'm not just talking about 50-50. So we will. Sounds like Max is about to raid over into us, so we'll wait till that happens until we get started. But lots of fun stuff tonight. Max LP80, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much for giving me a little extra time to get ready. Fish, you're keeping this late night raid train going. And did I hear that right? Are you streaming at 3:30 a.m. this morning? I thought I heard you say it, and then it didn't register until after I had um, put my phone away to go take care of some stuff, family stuff, before streaming tonight. It is Bizarro World. Normally, I am rating into Max. Tonight, Max is rating into me, and I greatly appreciate you giving me the extra time. Um, and happy to start a little. Max thinks he changed his mind. Okay, but that was the original plan. Is that right? That was once it sunk in. I was like, that's kind of amazing. All right. Well, thank you for stretching a little bit there and giving me a chance to actually come on a little early for a change. So I might also get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight. Definitely change your mind. So here's what we got going on tonight. We have an experiment inspired by whose chat was it? It was in someone's chat. They were talking about the hit and run slider. And apparently it wasn't clear, and I can understand why. If you increase your hit and run slider, if you'll also end up attempting more steals. And I think a lot of this is like, this gets back to one of the things we talk about a lot, which is what does the game do versus what would happen in real life? Okay, because what happens in the game is the developer's best efforts to recreate what will happen in real life. But if it's not coded, it's not going to happen. All right, so one that we've talked about before is there are some people who think if you increase your hold runner slider, your pitchers will get more tired because they're throwing over to first base more. And that is something I intend to test. I just am trying to think of a good way to test it. But that said, that's a good example of it's people applying what they think would happen in real baseball, which is maybe true, right? Every throw over to first base is a throw. Does that tire your arm out faster? Maybe. But in the game, it would only do that if it's coded that way. So then that brings us to the hit and run discussion from earlier today. Um, and part of this might be my bias, right? And my applying what would happen in real baseball to the game. Um, it could be a difference in terminology, but here's how I learned to do the hit and run. And the more I think about it, the way I learned how to do the hit and run, it's probably more accurately called the run and hit, because if our coach put on the hit and run, it was a call to both the runner at first and the batter. Right, the runner's going on the pitch. It's a steal no matter what, and then the batter's going to swing and try to make contact. Right, and our coach always emphasized there are two benefits to this. The first is you might make contact, and it's easier to go first to third on a single because the runner's already going, and it's going to take us out of a double play, right? Because the runner's already in motion, can potentially beat out the throw to second base, or dissuade the throw to second base, or break up the play at second base. And then the other benefit is you're swinging, potentially getting in the way of the catcher getting up to throw to second base. But it was always predicated on the runners going and the batters swinging, no matter what. Right? It's a force steal at first. It's a force swing at the plate. That's how I learned how to run the hit and run. Now there's two things. Some people might call that the run and hit, and also that might not be the way the developers understand that play. And so, depending on your perspective and what your best guess of what the developers created is, you may have different guesses on what's going to happen when we do this. Claydog says for him, the hit and run was the same when playing as a kid. Um, we're going to do a 10-pack giveaway, guessing what the outcome of this experiment is going to be. And I think people's guesses will reflect how they learned how to run the hit and run, how they think the hit and run is designed in the game, and we'll see what happens. I could very well be wrong, or more accurately, the way the developers design the hit and run could be different from the way I understand the hit and run. Uh, so we'll find out. This is one of those where I have no idea what's going to happen. I think I know how I would design it, but then again, that's again me applying real life baseball to computer baseball, and I'm trying not to ignore that computer baseball is basically just how it was programmed. But before we jump into that too much, I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you guys. I'm assuming you know Otani. Not I guess not joined, but created the 50-50 club tonight. But does everyone know what his stat line was? He had an incredible night. I was chatting with one of my buddies via text, and we were discussing whether or not it's the best all time uh, 9 inning game stat line ever. Um, his OPS for the game was 3.833. If that gives you any idea. Um, so let's start with he's the first player to join the 50-50 club. Now, you may know that I think he was at 48 home runs and 49 steals coming into the game. So he actually finished in the 51-51 club. So here's his batting line: 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 4 runs scored, and 10 RBI. I'll just let that sink in for a little bit. Now keep in mind, in OOTP you get an accomplishment if you go 5 for 5, or if you get 5 hits. Not even 5 for 5, 5 hits. You get an accomplishment if you get 3 home runs. I don't even know what the cutoff for RBIs is. I'm sure it's not 10. Yeah, the Dodgers had 20 runs compared to the Jets 24 points. That's right. Um, I so I I think I had stopped following after his second home run, and I think his third home run, to be fair, was hit off of a position player who was pitching in mop up. Um, but when my friend sent me the final stat line, I responded to him: no triple, no cycle, mid. Because what can you do but joke about a stat line like this? In fact, I need to add this in here: 3.833 OPS. Because that's pretty amazing. The other thing I was thinking was 100 RBIs is a great season, right? He's 10% of the way there in one game. I mean, it's just, I could look at this all day and just It's just mind-boggling, but it gets better. Yeah, 3.833 OPS. Max says he's washed. So then I learned these two other facts watching. I had sports Scott Van Pelt on in the background while I was getting ready to stream tonight. And the first thing is of the 15 other players to get 10 RBI in a game, their combined stolen bases are zero. So in Major League history, 15 other times players got 10 RBI in a game. None of them managed to steal a base. He had two. Oh, you know what? I left that off. I left it off. He had two stolen bases. Got to add that in. And I have to paste this back in. Forgot the two stolen bases because he needed those to get to 51 steals for 50-50. So 15 other players, almost two lineups worth, no stolen bases, and he had two. I mean, that's partly because most guys who hit lots of RBIs are not speedsters, right? So again, it just kind of highlights what a unicorn he is. And then here's the other thing I learned. Oh, Dr. Bob, you got to watch the game tonight? That's awesome. I mean, as a Dodgers fan, you must be extra excited. So I'm Japanese. I grew up here, but I mean, he's a superstar no matter what. But he's a Japanese superstar playing MLB. I can't tell you how excited I am about that. So you get him as a Dodgers fan. I get him as a Japanese baseball player. Um, and then here's the other thing that I learned: the previous record for RBI by a leadoff hitter was 8, and he was leading off today. He had 10. Let me go ahead and update this again. Yeah, so pretty amazing. I will be interested to see if there are any better single game 9 inning stat lines than this. I mean, he had two chances to just stop at third base on his home runs to hit for the cycle if he wanted to. That's let's see. I have to add this up. 12, 16. That's 17 total bases. 17 total bases in a game. That's amazing. Um we could probably go back in Major League history and find all the players who didn't even have 10 career RBIs, and he had 10 in one game. Um, yeah, just amazing. And one of the things. So Scott Van Pelt had Dave Roberts on for an interview during his show, um, and he prefaced it by talking about like all the stuff that was on Otani's plate at the beginning of the year, like new team, huge contract, the thing with his translator slash gambling debt. He's still injured, right? He can't pitch right now. All that stuff at the beginning of the season, and he does this. It's just amazing. Um, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to spend some time at the beginning of the stream talking about that. Also, partly because I usually go on at 10 p.m. Pacific, and in case people were planning to join in to do the 10 pack giveaway and watch the stream, I wanted to have something to talk about so that we can start the giveaway stuff in the contest at our normal time, so no one misses out. But yeah, pretty amazing, and also broke the Dodgers single season home run record. I didn't know until this week that the Dodgers had never had anyone hit 50 home runs. Um, 49, I guess, was the record. So all kinds of record breaking happening. And then the other thing I wanted to show was I mentioned this the other day, but I didn't have any images ready. Um, Tesuiji, let's give Tesuiji a shout out. You'll see him streaming. He's doing a Colorado Rockies save, and he does a KBO Korean Baseball League save. He's got amazing kind of opening videos to start the games. He does great play by play and like super immersive experience. And he also designs awesome uniforms. And I guess the deal is if you subscribe, he'll make your uniform. And apparently, EVC, once there's a cooldown, let me give a shout out to EVC too. EVC in NYC too. Um, I guess EVC had some uniforms coming to him that he donated to the affiliate OOTP affiliate streamers. So I asked if I could have one, and Tetsuji designed these awesome home and road uniforms for my team. Tim Anderson from Miami had 9 RBI in 65 games this season for Max. that's a, that's awesome. That's great. So yeah, so thanks to EVC, I'll have to wait another 32 seconds. I have to type it in again too. So we'll give EVC a shot. But yeah, Tasuji, give him a follow if you're interested in watching some awesome immersive base game season simulations. But yeah, so these are the uniforms he designed for my team. Um, he used the so what I told him was we had a brief Discord exchange. He was asking like, what did I want? Like, what was like kind of my vision for the uniforms? And so I thought part of the theme and like part of my logo is like vintage and like modern, but not even current modern, like Back to the Future 1985 modern. So like the reason I have that green font on my logo is I want to be like reminiscent of a green monochrome monitor, right? So like in 1985, I'm thinking like Apple II, the Apple II computers we had at school, or that my friends had Commodore 64s. Um, right, so like the monochrome green font on black screen, and then the franchise part I had designed. So I had this logo designed on Fiverr, which if you're ever looking for like logos or stuff like that, it's a great place. the The creatives get paid, but it's super affordable because they're like like bite-sized gigs, right? And so um y- some people turn around pretty fast if that's what they're focused on. I think a lot of people they're doing it in between their other stuff, so it might take a day or two, but it's worth it. If you find the right people, it's like really high quality for really reasonable price. But I wanted the franchise part to be kind of reminiscent of like a patch on an old varsity jacket. um oh, Yo Dodger Bob says totally off subject. Thank you for rating to Midnight Sumo the other night. Totally changed my life. I've been watching sumo and OTP for 68 hours a day for the past 10 days. Yo, Dr. Bob, you're very welcome. Um, I sumo is one of those things where like I don't even think about it until I see it. And then if I see it, I can't stop watching it. And I speak some Japanese, but like the commentary on it and a lot of the language they use is so um it's so like traditional and formal that I don't even understand some of it. And so to hear it with the English commentary is awesome. Um yeah, so I'm glad you liked it too. It's one of those things where like I have two or three things I like to raid into, and I'm never sure how our OOTP audience is going to react to it. So I appreciate you letting me know that you enjoyed it, because it could be hit or miss. Um, but yeah, I think the English commentary definitely helps. It makes it more accessible even for me, and so I'm glad you liked it. But mostly, thank you for letting me know that you liked it. Um, and then shout out to EVC again for donating these uniforms. Um, but yeah, so he took so I like it that like each uniform is like kind of one half of the theme of the logo. And the other thing I mentioned was I was like, oh, it'd be cool if one of the uniforms was almost like a vest. Because one of the things I was thinking about, so like Back to the Future was a big influence when I was coming up with the logo and the concept, right? Because the idea is like I'm always bringing players back and forth through time to whatever season we're going to sim in. And I was thinking about that scene in Back to the Future where they like grab his vest and said, "Check out the life vest." The dork thinks he's going to drown, and so he did like a reverse vest on the home jersey, where it's like instead of the red vest, it's the white vest design with the red sleeves, and and then I think on the road jersey he really nailed like that monochrome monitor look. Uh, so I wanted to show these partly because I think they're so cool. I'm looking forward to uploading them for my team. But also to like, let you know if you subscribe to Sweegee's channel, he will make uniforms for your teams too. So uh wanted to make sure that I spread the good word about him and his uniforms and his stream. What's up, Togmato? Togmato, I know has enjoyed at least one of the weird places I raid into. I we run into sometimes each other sometimes in the Ophi and Stitch stream where I've raided into before. But for those of you, if everyone's just come in, tonight's experiment, and we will do a 10-pack giveaway based on it, is whether or not the hit and run increases steal attempts. So Clay Dog's been watching Sensei Martian walk around all day. That is the third of the third of the places I raid into. So yeah, let's just talk about Sensei Martian real quick. Sensei Martian is an American expat in his early 30s who's been in Japan for almost a decade, and he decided to start streaming long walks. And so I think the first long one he did was from Tokyo to Osaka, which is known as the Tokaido Road. It's a traditional route that's been traveled for centuries. And then this year, he decided he was going to walk from the southern tip of Japan all the way to the northern tip of Japan, which is he's already passed 2,500 kilometers. So I think all told, it's going to be close to 2,000 miles. It's a long trip, and he's 100 and I think he's almost 160 days in now, and he thinks he's got about a couple weeks left. So it's been I really enjoy. He streams in English. He's really good about keeping up with the chat. I don't know what his setup is, but while he's walking, he's always able to respond to chat. The only time he doesn't chat or he doesn't talk to chat is when he's either ordering food or someone engages him in conversation, and and when he goes into like restaurants, so he'll point the camera down so he doesn't inadvertently, yeah, stream people who might not want to be online, and then he'll like put the camera back up and talk to the camera while he's eating or taking a break. And it's a really cool way to see the Japanese countryside. He's intentionally taking a route that takes him through these towns that are probably not going to in a few decades. Um, Rural Japan, I think, is in really big decline. Most of the younger people are moving to the cities, and I think there's a real concern that those rural communities are just going to collapse at some point. So he wanted to kind of take this walk areas to, kind of document them and experience them before they go. And yeah, it's parts of I. So I've been to Japan many times. I always get a rail pass. If you're ever going to travel to Japan, let me know. I have tons of travel tips for you. One of the big ones is to get a rail pass. There's such a great deal. They're they're so good of a deal that they won't sell them to people in Japan. Um, I'm still a Japanese citizen, even though I've been in the U.S. since I was a baby. Yeah. But I can still buy one because I'm a U.S. resident. But if I was a Japanese citizen, a Japanese resident, I would not be able to buy one because it's such a good deal. Um, you can take the bullet trains. You can take any trains that are part of the Japan railway system, which is most of the country. It's like an all-you-can-eat plan, and I've seen a ton of the country that way. And he's still walking through parts of the country that I've never seen and I'll probably never see, just because they're so off the beaten path. And it's just an awesome stream. Um, so yeah, let's give him a shout out. And so a lot of this stuff, the main reason I do this and I found those streams is something I learned from Cheeky, who's one of our late night streamers. And I will give him a shout out as soon as we have a cooldown here on my shout outs. But a few times I was in his stream when he ended the night, and he does this fun thing where he looks for streamers with very few viewers who are doing something interesting. So it could be like an artist or a musician playing live music. And I thought that was really cool. And they usually are like super excited to get a stream, to get a raid of like 20, 30. Some nights if we carry the raid stream or the raid train in from like a mothership stream, I've had like 100 and some people at 1 a.m. Pacific time to raid into someone. And so they're super grateful for the eyeballs. And it's fun to see them get excited about that, but it's also fun to see them doing something interesting. And yeah, so I kind of carry his philosophy when I was looking for raids, but now I have like two or three of my favorites. The sumo I'll probably stop doing once the sumo tournament's over, because in between sumo tournaments, it's interesting, but they just run like a bunch of videos of usually of like Japanese restaurants, which make me hungry. But you can find that stuff on YouTube. But doing the sumo tournaments, especially, I've been trying to raid into Midnight Sumo a lot, and then other nights it's usually Sensei Martian or um, Oki and Stitch. Yeah, Takamito, it does seem to be on 24/7, but the live content with the commentary is usually only during the sumo tournaments. Um, I think the other stuff's interesting. It's just to me, it's I could find that though on YouTube, but the sumo tournaments I really like is like that's a pretty unique thing on Twitch, I think. So let's see if the cool's down good enough. Let me give a shout out to Cheeky who taught me that philosophy on rating. Yeah. I haven't seen him streaming lately, but he's been really successful in league play and tournament play. So he does a lot of roster building, and he does pack giveaways, playing marbles. It's just a uh, fun stream to hang out in. AW, welcome. I'm glad you're here because you're part of the crew who might have a different opinion than me on the predictions for this hit and run experiment. He's really good in gold, said Max. Yeah. And I think he made perfect team, perfect league, pretty quickly. I think he was in perfect league like a week or two ago. And I think he was a longtime streamer of other games and then picked up OOTP this season. He was in perfect league for 3 straight weeks, which is quite an accomplishment. So yeah, so check out Cheeky. Do you know where he's been lately, Max? I haven't seen him streaming much the last week or two. Let me get the game up too while we're chatting. Now that it's 10 o'clock, I feel like we can start the experiment. He's been working and busy. Oh, okay, fair enough. I also am about to get a little busier with work, so I may have to stream fewer nights. We'll see. I do have a deadline for something work related on Tuesday. So depending on how much I get done this weekend, I may or may not be able to stream Monday night. So don't you hate it when real life intrudes on your fake computer baseball game playing? So Clay Dog stopped trying for perfect, and oh, you think he stopped trying for perfect and transitioned his team into a Padres theme team? I do remember he was going to work on a Padres theme team, so that's cool. All right, let's get the actually before the base. I wonder if maybe we should do the form so that way, if anyone needs to run, you can get your guesses in, and my philosophy is you do not have to be present to win. I want everyone to have a shot at these. So let me find a similar. Okay, I'm going to copy the old stealing settings um, form. Every time Takedo falls asleep before my stream, he wakes up in the morning like, damn. Well, you can always watch the VODs. You'll miss the really good 10-pack giveaway odds, though. We have really good odds. I will thank you. Oh, Max didn't even give me a chance to show that I can do it on my own. He preemptively reminded me to open the form. The interaction is the best part. Yeah, I agree, Taquedo. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Oh, you would pin it too, Max? What a good idea. Why don't I pin it? All right, let's see. Are we gonna call this? This is hit and run and attempted steals. Okay, let me make a copy. And just to avoid confusing people, let me update the title first, and then I'll share it on screen. Tom Vado falls asleep and wakes up to retro gameplay. I should also mention if you do like Sensei Martian and maybe to a lesser extent Midnight Sumo, the way I discovered Sensei Martian is watching a different stream. I think it's called Japanese printmaking. It's uh it's this guy, an American guy, expat in Japan, who I think has been there like over 40 years. Um, I apologize if I got that timing wrong, but he's been there a really long time. And he owns and runs a woodblock printing shop where they do traditional woodblock printing. So I don't know if you've ever seen the famous woodblock print of the tidal wave by Hokusai. Right, that's a traditional Japanese woodblock print, and he works in that style. And Tomino usually wakes up during D Block or NASP stream. Yeah. So I was watching his stream, and he raided into Sensei Martian because they had become friends. So in like I had never even thought of joining Twitch until I started playing Perfect Team last December. I I just knew it as a site you go to watch people play video games, and to me that sounded like the most boring thing ever. Little did I know I would get sucked into OOTP and Perfect Team. Uh, watch the OOTP streams and the affiliate streams religiously, and then started streaming earlier this year. Um, but even then, like from that, I didn't realize that there were people streaming other content. And so as I started discovering that, I found this Japanese printmaking. His name is Dave Bull, and he runs a shop in Tokyo. And then that's how from Dave raiding into Sensei Martian is how I discovered that. And then Sensei Martian raided into Midnight Sumo, which is how I discovered that. All right, so yeah, there's way more variety in Twitch than I thought, Tugmado. I was very surprised. And in the beginning, for the first few months, all I did was watch OTP stuff. So I just wasn't exposed to much of it outside of that. So tonight's stream, we'll be testing the impact of the hit and run slider, strategy slider, strategy team, I know, team and player strategy slider on stolen base attempts. And the 10 pack giveaway will be how well you can guess the outcome of this season's team statistics. All right, as we've done with others, there are going to be 4 pairs of teams, right? So there'll be 4 hot tub streams. Tom Mato thought it was all games for a decade. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I had no reason to suspect otherwise. So, all right, the first one is going to be +5 hit and run, 0 stealing bases. The next one will be 0 hit and run, +5 stealing bases. Then we'll have +5 hit and run, +5 stealing bases. And then kind of our control will be 0 hit and run, 0 stealing bases. Now, one thing I considered was making the zeros -5s, and I'm still thinking about doing that. Just hot tub sumo alone is funny enough. Um, I think I'm going to make it -5. +5 hit and run, -5 stealing bases. -5 hit and run, +5 stealing bases. So then the last will be -5, -5. All right, and for the personal contest, we're going to be tracking stolen base attempts. And for what we're doing, we're going to consider a stolen base attempt the sum of steals and caught stealing. And just the additional thing is for tiebreakers, the closest answer wins, not using Price's Right rules. So you can go over and be closest and still win. And if after all the tiebreakers we still have a tie, the earliest submission is going to win. That's a final tiebreaker I learned from EVC in history. Hot Tub Sumo would destroy the slap fighting league, says Takmedo. We'll be using the 4x4, which is 4AL, 4NL, completely average league. 2023 is in the usual settings. No injuries, no suspensions, personality, chemistry, morale, development, all off. No trades. Modifier set to 1 and locked. Let me add and locked. AI will be in charge of all decisions once the season starts. As always, please remember your OOTP login is how OOTP develops will send you your pack, so it is case sensitive. And thank you to OOTP Developments for the packs we get to give away. Your Twitch username, it can be whatever will help us know who you are in stream. This is what I'm going to show when we show the guesses. So the first question, this will be a softball. Which team, AL and NL combined, will have the fewest stolen base attempts? And again, the choices are -5 hit and run, -5 stealing. The second one will be -5 hit and run, +5 stealing. The third team is +5 hit and run, -5 stealing. And the fourth team is +5 hit and run, +5 stealing. Okay. And let's copy that. And then which team will have the most stolen base attempts? That capital U is going to bother me. And then which team will have the second most? So by the time we're done, basically, I will have asked you to rank the three teams in stolen base attempts because we're going fewest, most, and then second most. Nolan, we were just talking about falling asleep before streams and then waking up after. Welcome in. We are guessing what's going to happen when we crank up or crank down hit and run and attempted steals. So there was some discussion about this in an earlier stream today, and whether or not increasing your hit and run will also result in a secondary effect of increasing your attempted steals. And I think a lot of that depends on how you grew up learning about the definition of hit and run, right? Is it the runner goes and the batter swinging no matter what, or some other definition? And it also depends on how the developers interpreted hit and run and how they coded it into the game. All right, and then this will be some extra math, but I think it's worth doing. Uh, Now, I'm not going to do it. I was going to do something with um, stolen base percentage, but because everyone's average, I think it's going to be super hard to beat. So instead, let's say How many stolen base attempts by the team with the AL and NL combined with the most attempts? And that will just be a numerical answer. And I don't think we'll need a tiebreaker after that. I would be very surprised if two people. You know what? Let's do two. We'll do then one with the fewest. There's no way we'll need a tiebreaker after that. I wonder if I can find out. I'm going to pull up BREF for a second. I think we can find this out. What I'm looking for is uh okay, stolen bases across the end. There should have an average here. Okay, the league average in 2023 was 117 steals and 29 caught stealing. So that's 146. All right, that'll give you at least a reference point when you're guessing. Oops. I was just going to copy that and use it down here too. Okay. I think we're good on the form. Let me put the base game up and I will post the form. I really like these experiments where I really have no idea what's going to happen here. So let me turn on the form and we will share it. Okay. Link to form for tonight's 10-pack giveaway. Okay, if you're about to fall asleep or need to leave, feel free to fill it in and take off. You will still get your packs if you win. 7 packs for first place, 3 packs for second place. All right, and I will get the experiment started. We will keep the form open until right before we start the sim. Yeah, Pin. Yeah, Max. It should be at the top of the chat. Hold on. I gotta do one thing here real quick. Oh, is there an equal 5 in there? Let me see. Did I do a typo? It looks like -5 and +5. Oh, maybe in the answers. Okay, yeah, you're right. I need to redo that. Let me take the pin down. Let me take this down. I gotta edit this. So it's minus five hit and run, minus five stealing, minus five hit and run, plus five, and minus five. All right, thanks, AW. Thanks for catching that. I'm gonna edit. I gotta edit that in all of them. Oh, there's just the two. There were two typos in two forms, so in two questions. Okay, so they are corrected. I apologize, Max. You're gonna have to resubmit, I think, because well, maybe not. Maybe not. Will it add? You might have to. Let me see what it does here. Because I know it changes the URL. Corrected link to form for 2 nights 10 pack giveaway. It might just add responses to Max's response. I hope that's the case, so that Max doesn't have to resubmit. Yeah, I think I corrected them in all of them, Smiley Face Jane. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Oh, dang it, it's still wrong. Sorry, I'm unpinning again. Sorry. Ah, I thought I was just seeing double, but that's actually an equal sign. Okay, minus five, minus five. Yeah, okay. All right. Now we're set. Now we're set. Thank you everybody for your diligence. Sorry, Face Jane was gonna put the OTP team password as a username. That would have been amazing. That would have taken all the attention away from all of my typos in that in that form. Okay. Recorrected link to form for 2 nights 10 pack giveaway. All right. Let me pin it again. And let's see what else people can find wrong about it. All right. There it is. Um, Man, that was funny. I just couldn't get it right. Thank you. Thank you, Smiley Face Kid. I appreciate it. I just imagine getting patted on the head while being told that. Oh, good job. You did it. You did it. Good job. Oh, I did. Oh, wait. Did I remember to open it the second and third times? Or maybe it's already open. Okay. All right. I think we're good. I will open the. All right, now I feel like the pressure's off because if anyone needs to leave, they can at least get an entry in. And so we're looking for quick start 7. I think we're up to quick start 7. There it is. Okay, this will be hit and run. Oh, it won't let me do ampersand. Hit and run. We'll do a GNR style. Hit and run. H&R steals VO1. That will take a little time to think. Okay. Did y'all just hear my dog snore? My dog just snored. All right. The player aggressiveness and stealing ability, everything is 125 to start with. Well, I say to start with, but we're not changing that. We're just changing the slider. So yeah, all of their secondary abilities, so speed, stealing aggressiveness, bunting, are all 125. And all that stuff is on a 1 to 250 scale. That did not change the 550. Okay. We will start by renaming the teams. These team names are going to be a little annoying, I think. -5 hit and run, minus -5 stealing. So we're just going to have to remember that but it's AL and NL. Um, AW's down one game to 2 in the 6L semis. AW, I also ran into you in I think like round 3 or 4 of a nearly perfect tonight. Will it allow a 5-letter abbreviation? No, it will not. Oh, you know what we can do? Let's do this. It'll be AL minus minus because they're all 5s. They're just either minus or plus. Yeah, I think a nearly perfect. Either that or an around the horn. Those are the two that I play a lot. This will be +5 hit and run, -5 stealing. And this will be American or average league +5 -5. -5 hit and run, +5 stealing. And I notice I just did the equal sign again up here. So American League minus plus, and then +5 hit and run, +5 stealing. Oh, probably around the horn then. Yeah, whatever. It had a it was a best of three, I think. All right, -5 hit and run, -5 stealing, not neutral league minus minus, +5 hit and run, -5 stealing, National League plus minus, -5 hit and run, +5 stealing, National League -5 +5. You just lost in the final seven. So I appreciate that was your very polite way of saying that you beat me when we faced each other. National League plus plus. Okay, that'll work. Well, the good thing is I'm still alive in Thursday Night Live Adventure. How long has that one been going on? Is it just in round one? I feel like it's been going for a while. Um, you lost in that one? All right, let's see if that worked. Yeah, it worked. Okay. And the whole reason I do this in advance is so I can just look up and see what I'm supposed to be editing to. Oh, I'm in round four of a 256 team tournament. Awesome. That's cool. That means there's a perfect pack, a perfect choice pack on the line here. Nice. Wait, is it a perfect choice pack or a perfect pack? I don't know AW. I have too many teams and too many tournaments. Perfect choice packs is my with this game. Perfect choice. You know what? It worked phonetically, so I did not even notice that it had been misspelled. Hold on, I need to sign up for some iron tournaments real quick. Oh, late iron's almost full. Gotta get in that. And live iron. All right, I'm in that. Oh, I'm still in live iron from before. Oh, that's only two. That's only an hour and a half in though. Okay. Sorry, I have another tablet that I UC Georgia Tech. It might have also been Low Diamond Phillips. Low Diamond Phillips might have been the other one. Just look in the path of destruction you laid, and I'll be in there somewhere. Sorry, I'm just gonna sign up for these iron tournaments so they fill up. Okay. One was pretty close to filling, so Thanks for letting me do that. This is also giving you extra time to fill in your forms. That's how I'm going to rationalize it. Okay, so actually, I think there's only one thing I need to change here are the sliders. Okay, so for this one, stealing bases is going to be +5. So everything's starting out as sabermetric. And then hit and run is going to be +5. We're going to leave everything else as is. So then the hit and run +5, stealing +5, nationals. +5 hit and run, -5 stealing. So -5 stealing, +5 hit and run. Oh, wait a second. I wonder. Let me make sure the changes carry through. Okay, they did. Okay, good. Good, good. I was worried that it wasn't going to carry, but it's set to all times, all scores, so I was pretty sure that was going to work. Smiley Facing just had to speed run a hodgepodge roster in 2 minutes. I've had to do that a bunch of times, especially lately. In fact, I think one of the one of the EVC West Coast expansions that I finished second place in was one where I had to, so I usually enter two teams in every tournament I play. I had to do two of them in 6 minutes total, and one of them made it to. Usually they're a mess, but that one I think I got lucky. Hey W, when I finally open my packs, I might have a skip Lockwood I could sell you. That was the Athletics. Now we're doing the Mets. +5 hit and run, -5 stealing. That's the other thing. Some of these tournaments that I'm doing well in are 30 standard pack tournaments, so it's just adding to my my pile of unopened packs that's crushing me. No, he's in a low diamond choice pack, and you can't get him in any choice. That's a bummer. All right, let's see. That's a bummer when you win choice packs and you still can't get the card you're looking for. That is a bummer. Okay, this is -5 hit and run, +5 stealing. Oh, I just grabbed Senga in a couple of drafts tonight, in a couple of near perfect drafts tonight. I'm really excited to watch him, see how he pitches. Phillies -5 hit and run, +5 to the bases. Oh, Smiley Face Jane, while you're here, we had to reschedule your creator roster, and we were going to do it Saturday if you're available because I don't need to raid into Max because I was worried about like raiding into him too late and then pushing him way back. But he said that he'd rather that I stream late so he can start later because he's trying to stream into the morning. So if you want to do your creator roster Friday night, that's an option too. Or if you've already kind of planned around it or mentally prepared for it, we can still keep it on Saturday night. Just let me know. Okay, now these are the two -5 teams, which are actually not that different from just sabermetric. You want to do Friday instead? All right, everyone. Tomorrow night, Smiley Face Jane, the first to redeem a creator roster play, will be playing creator roster. Wasn't feeling well earlier this week, and so Tonkmato stepped up and did his redemption and played creator roster with the San Francisco Giants. And so Smiley Face Jane will be going on Friday. And if you've been watching the streams and watching the PTCS weekly standings, you know that Smiley Face Jane is on fire. So watch out. This may be a crazy good player creation session and a crazy good sim. Because Smiley Face Jane is on fire. I'm wondering if there's a typo or missing word in there. I watched that back. Can I just keep the twins as is if they sim that well? Wait, are you saying are you saying just play the regular 2023 twins? Yeah, they did amazingly well. There are a couple teams that no matter what we do, um, like the unedited Dodgers and the unedited Twins seem to do really well. I think it's a combination of um, it's all the things all the settings we use, especially with injuries off. The Mets also do surprisingly well because Verlander and Scherzer don't get hurt. But the Twins and Dodgers seem to do really well in our sims. Yeah, that would be funny. You probably still beat my 105 wins for my all-time Mets roster. Injuries off is the only way to get Buxton to play that much. All right, the Braves. This is the last team, I think. This is a really quick setup. Okay, so everyone's set. Stealing bases and hit and run sliders are set. We did notice, and I appreciate D Block letting me know that it wasn't just my imagination, that the manager options will not get saved in the quick start. So these we have to keep redoing manually. I thought I was going bonkers thinking I wasn't doing it right. But it was really helpful to hear that he had the same experience. So the mailbox settings and the manager settings for the de facto do not disturb, we have to redo every time. Other than that, we should be good to go. Oh, the one other thing, I think we corrected it, was the normalization being off was not locked. Oh yeah, see, it's not locked again. All right, we locked it though. All right, so I think we're ready to go. Here are our teams. Let's do our usual. We'll take a quick ad break so we don't have ads during the sim. And I will close the form and we'll look at the guesses before we start. So consider this your 3-minute warning. All right, I think we're back. Oh, AW, did you lose the 6L final? That's a bummer. Well, I mean, it's actually pretty impressive just to make the final twice in a row. So you got that going for you. Semis, still points in the 6L, hard to come by. We can't all be smiley face Jane. All right, I'm gonna turn the form off unless someone tells me in chat that they're about to hit submit. If you let me know that, I will hold off. I do like that when D Block does his countdowns for uh what is this thing? Call your floppy, call your thingy, one of those things. He does the countdown, and then he does like the pause for the lag, which I like. Smiley Face Jane struggles with kind of struggles for 6L. 5L is bread and butter. You think that's just like our natural biases for who we like to draft fit one tournament settings better than the others? Oh, Nolan's been doing the mixed bag. Is uh is mixed bag the one where the order of the rounds is completely random? So you might get your 5 irons first or something. That's awesome. So when they had asked the affiliates, I think, for ideas for tournaments, and I gave them two. Oh no, this one I gave them. I think when I first started streaming, because I asked if it was an option, and it was to do a reverse order draft where you get the 5 irons first, and then your perfects last. Um, so I don't know if I mean it's not rocket surgery to think of these things. So I'm sure they had other suggestions, but like the mix, I feel like the mixed bag is kind of a variation. The other thing I suggested was live tournaments in every level where the prize is a combinator pack, or you get a pack with a guaranteed combinator, and that combinator is the level of the tournament you just played. So if you play a live iron tournament and you win, you get like 3 iron combinator packs. I thought that would be fun, but that didn't happen either. So I was thinking first place would be like 3 iron combinator packs, and then second place would be like 1 iron combinator pack, and then after third and fourth it might be like whatever all the other tournaments do. And then if you play a silver, first place is 3 silver combinator packs, and second place is 1 silver combinator pack. But because it did seem like there were one of the things they're trying to address is like the supply of combinators, and so I thought maybe there's a chance I could get that approved. Also, it might have been hard to create combinator packs. I don't know how difficult that coding would be. Oh, Nolan likes mixed bag because it makes him channel the true best player available mindset. Except sometimes they end up with 14 pitchers and no depth. I've played nearly perfect enough times where I can avoid those traps now. Because I used to just chase like these awesome cards and then realize I had 4 pitchers and I'm in round 11. Okay, I'm gonna close the form since no one's objecting. I'm gonna close the form. And then I'm gonna generate the sheet. Okay, and I'm going to hide the first three rows so they will be anonymous until the end. All right, let's see what everyone guessed. Position management definitely the hardest part of mixed bag, says Smiley Face Jane. Had the opposite problem where I'd have like seven pitchers and the draft would end. Yeah, I definitely end up chasing position players in nearly perfect, so I could see that happening in mixed bag too. All right, here we go. What team will have the fewest stolen base attempts? And I think everyone, this one is, not a surprise. Everyone agrees that it's the -5 hit and run, -5 stealing. Okay, the second one though, which one will have the most stolen base attempts? And we do have a bit of variety here. We have the. Oh, wait a second. Did I delete one too many? No, no, that's right. So -5 hit and run, +5 stealing, +5 hit and run, +5 stealing, -5 hit and run, +5 stealing. Okay, so basically, three people guessed -5 hit and run, +5 stealing, and two people guessed +5 hit and run, +5 stealing. And my personal belief is every time you put on the hit and run, if you don't foul off the ball or put the ball in play, you end up with a attempted steal. So I would be in the +5 hit and run, +5 stealing camp. So I would be in that crew. And then we'll look at the numerical ones after the sim. Usually I don't show them, but I showed them by mistake. All right, let's uh let's start the sim. Does anyone have any guesses on which team is going to have the best record? Would think +5 hit and run would increase attempts but hurt efficiency. Yes, I believe the same, Smiley Face Jane. And that's also why we're not measuring or quizzing on efficiency, but just like how often would they try. But yeah, I agree because you're forcing your runner to run on not necessarily the best pitch, and you're also forcing runners who maybe are not the best base stealers to run. So yeah, I agree. Eight everything will hurt attempts personally because some steal attempts will be a ball in play. Yeah, and that's the argument for the -5 hit and run. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think both approaches have logic behind them. It's just a matter of like how is it interpreted. This one is truly an investigation into how was it coded, because I think both interpretations from a baseball perspective, could make sense. All right, we get our little taste of March. Oh wait, let me save this in case we have a crash. And I'm not going to save a quick start this because I don't envision any situation where we would rerun this from the start. I think we'll get enough data from one run. Or should I do a quick start? You know what? It doesn't hurt to save a quick start. Let me just save a quick start. H and R Steel QS01. Just in case. +5 -5. and stealing. Okay. There's no harm in saving a quick start. I think we might as well do it. I guess the harm would be if it caused it to crash, but looks like it didn't cause it to crash. All right. Let's we get our 2 games in March in. All right. They have different stealing, but there's a +5 hit and run team at the top of each division, but that's just based on 2 games. Let's do the first full month. Now, while I agree that there will be some stolen base efficiency problems with that the teams that hit and run more, I also think that it's not going to be so much that I'm thinking it's probably going to be noise, but we'll see. Yeah, these standings are all over the place. So in the AL, it's a +5, -5 team at the top, +5, +5 at the bottom. And the NL, it's a +5, +5 at the top, and a +5, -5 at the bottom. So it's completely opposite. That's funny. During our second full month here. All right, it's a +5, -5 at the top of the AL still, and a +5, +5 at the top of the NL. Yeah, I don't see any patterns at all so far. All right, let's go to the announcement of the All Star teams, or basically the All Star break. This is strange. The AL is a 5 game spread, the NL is a 20 game spread. Look at a 7 game spread in the AL, 20 game spread in the NL. +5, +5 has risen to the top of both leagues, though. That's interesting. All right, let's do one more game to get to the All Star break. Home run challenge. Average players in the home run challenge. There's an average infielder 4. Average infielder 4 advances to round 2. This is great, though. All the home run totals of the contestants 16, 12, 14, 13. They're all on track for like 25 home runs. All right, let's finish the next round. Oh, average infielder 4 knocked out 9-8. Average infielder 1, though. Average infielder 1's been hot lately. But average infielder 6 takes it 10-9. All right. Let's finish today. Let's just quick play the All-Star game. All-Star MVP is average infielder 2 from the neutral league. Neutral league wins 8-3. All right, let's go to the season again. Standings. And We'll play the month. All right, the spread's widened a bit in the AL finally, and it's a -5 team at the bottom, and a -5 +5 team now at the top. Only one game ahead though of the +5 team. Yeah, the standings are all over the place. So again, the standings being all over the place though just means that the outcome of the hit and run, the stolen bases, does not seem to have much bearing on on whether the team wins or loses, but it should still have a bearing on the amount of attempted steals. Yep, I don't see any patterns except strangely in the AL or the NL, one team is 15 games ahead. In the AL, there's a virtual tie at the top of the division and a 9-10 game gap to the third place team. All right, we're September 1st, so we're basically simming to the end of the regular season. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's sim the last game. Okay, in the NL, everyone's playing for second place. The +5 team ran away with it in the NL. In the AL, the +5 team did make the playoffs, and finished 15 games clear of the third place team. Oh, interesting. In both leagues, it's the +5 team and the -5 team that made the playoffs. But the caveat there is, oh, actually no, there's gonna be a tiebreaker game. In the NL, it's less meaningful because there's a log jam for second, third, and fourth. So I do think that means we have a one-game playoff coming. Let's check the schedule. Is it the Braves and Phillies that are tied? Yeah, there's gonna be a one-game playoff. So let's sim today. Ooh, a pitching triple crown. That is unusual. Now, is there any reason that minimizing and maximizing the stealing and hit and run sliders would contribute to a pitcher winning the triple crown? I don't think so. Let me think about this. It would basically mean that pitcher is on the team with the best settings because then it's facing all teams without the best settings. Well, let's see. What team did they pitch for? The pitching triple crown winner pitched for a +5 team. Interesting. And we did note that the +5 teams are in the mix for both playoffs. And in fact, did make the playoffs in both. Right. So the only reason when everyone's equal that a pitcher wins the triple crown is either total RNG, right? Everything breaks their way over enough games that they win their pitching triple crown, or there's something so good about their team settings that they're only pitching against teams with inferior settings, while the other pitchers have to pitch against their team with superior settings, that they have enough advantage over the season that they win a triple crown. So +5 hit and run, +5 stealing means they're doing tons of hit and running and tons of stealing. And if hit and run also adds stealing, then they're doing even more extra stealing. So the only way the non-RNG reason would work then is if stealing a ton is an advantage. And I don't see why it would be because everyone has average stealing ability as well. Anyway, well, let's keep that in mind though, that someone did win a pitching triple crown in this simulation. That could mean something. Let's do the playoffs and then we'll look at the stats and do the pack giveaway. All right. As mentioned, the two +5 teams are in. Oh, and also because of the 1 game playoff, the -5 +5. No, no, no. I'm sorry. It's a -5 +5 and a -5 -5. So this -5 -5 Braves team must have beaten the -5 +5 team. Okay. I just realized again we're doing one of those sims where if anyone wanders in here, they just hear me talking like a maniac about -5 +5 +5 -5 -5 +5. All right, let's go to the next playoff round. All right, we'll simulate the basically the league championship series. All right, so again, small sample size isn't a small sample size, but the two +5 teams did make it to the World Series. Right, it was only in doubt because in the AL here, right, there was only a 2 game difference, and the +5 team was actually in second place. In the NL, it was pretty clear that the +5 was ahead of the pack. All right. Ooh, it goes to 7 games with the +5 Rangers beat the +5 Nationals. Is this score higher than my Mets all-time favorite Mets team score? I think it might be. I'm going to screenshot this in case it is. I think it might be. That's kind of sad. That's a little sad. All right. Um, all right, let's look at some stats. Now, it won't have a total attempts as a leader, but is there any pattern to the stolen bases and caught stealings? Okay, -5 +5 is first, second, fourth, fifth. Okay, so okay, let me rephrase that. In the top eight, one, two, three, four, five, 6 of the top eight are -5 +5 players in successful steals. And in the top four in caught stealing, that leads me to believe that -5 +5 is probably going to be in the mix for most attempts. Oh, wait a second. We did have a pitching triple crown winner, so let's look at that. Let's go back to that. Let's just look at. I think it was Nash. Did we just have ad? Did we just have an ad for like a second? What was that? Was that just me, or did other people hear that? That was weird. Okay, so I think. Well, it looks like this nationally um, NPP player 4, right? That's +5, +5. I think they led the majors in ERA, wins, and strikeouts. Second in ERA, also a PP player, +5, +5. All right, I wonder if it's just a quirk. Let's see though. All right, look at team stats. Oh, we want team batting stats. Okay. Holy cow! That's a pretty huge difference. Okay, so I will say, if you look at just the -5 steal teams, right? That's -5 steal here, -5 steal here. The hit and run doesn't seem to matter. You have 4 versus 10, which is noise. And then here you have 14 versus 8. Well, maybe it does matter. The -5, -5 in both cases has fewer, but it's within the noise though. And then if you look in the +5 steal teams, I'm gonna have to make a spreadsheet to add these up because they're, but it feels like they're noise. Let me create a sheet. I'll get it set up and I'll share it. Y'all can look at the data real quick while I do that, and then you might notice some things that I missed. In the interest of doing it fast, I do apologize. It is going to be a white background, so it might blind you if you're in a dark room. Flip the fewest and most questions, please. So, AW, what does that mean for then what you were assuming about what hit and run does? I'm kind of curious because, well, I still want to add up the attempts. I think adding up attempts and then adding them across the leagues might also help um, tamp down some of the noise. But now my Google Sheets is freezing. I'm actually worried that I'm going to lose the stream. Let me see if there's some stuff I can close here. There is not much I can close, actually. I can close BREF. That sometimes helps a little. Okay, here we go. I got it. It finally came up. Is there a stat for double plays other than ground into double plays? Wondering how that would have played out since you'd think high hit and run would lead to more line drive double plays. I was actually thinking Smiley Face Jane, high hit and run would lead to fewer double plays because when you send your runner, you're decreasing the chance they'll get doubled up. That's interesting that we're viewing that so differently. I'm actually going to go with just P and M instead of plus and minus because it's just easier to see on the spreadsheet. Well, actually, yeah, that was a whole abbreviation, right? I'll just do that. So it's AMP, APP, APM, AMM. Oh, you know what? No, I need to separate. I'm going to pivot these. Sorry, I know you're not seeing this, but let me get this set up and then I'll show it to you. Plus, plus, minus, plus, plus, minus, minus, minus. And it's stolen bases and caught stealing. I'm leaving the stats up so you can look at them while I do this busy work here. Um, plus, 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 minus, minus, minus. Okay, and then the National League, plus, plus, two, six, minus, plus, minus, plus. Plus, minus, plus, plus, minus, 4 and 6. And then minus, minus. Okay. It is very small numbers, but in both leagues, the minus minus team had the fewer steals than the plus minus team. So plus 5 hit and run, minus 5 hit. Yeah, so let me show you now. Okay, here's the table. Let me do a pivot. So we want Columns we want. Stolen bases. Stolen bases. Oh, sorry. We want them as values. Never mind. Values. There we go. And then I want to do efficiency too. I mean, it could be small sample size, but here's why I think it's not. The two teams that were XM, right? So MM or PM, they had the lowest stolen base percentage, and I think the reason for that is AW's upset that he used the table for the calculations. um, you're eliminating like straight steals, and your only steals from now are coming from your missed hit and runs, at least for the PM team. AW's going to unsubscribe because I didn't use the table. Okay, so this is interesting though, because I would have thought, okay, because MP is -5 hit and run +5 steal. PP is +5 hit and run +5 steal. So by having hit and run on with the -5 steal teams, you increase the number of attempted steals. But with the steals on, the hit and run team actually lowered the number of attempted steals. Yeah, AW, I think you're right. This is kind of showing that hit and run is not having an impact on the number of attempted steals. Now, another way to run this experiment would be to crank down everyone's avoid K. Because if you crank down avoid K, does that then lead to more missed hits on the hit and runs? So if you have players who don't have good avoid K, do they swing and miss more during the hit and runs? And does that then lead to more caught stealing or more attempted steals? So five face answer. So maybe only set by player individually, but that leads to the question: does a player having a high hit and run apply to when they're hitting or on the base pass? That is an interesting question too. I think it should be on the hitter too, but I don't know enough that I can say concretely to Smiley Face James' question that that is the case. But that's how I would have defined it. AW. I agree with you. So based on my definition, that on a hit and run, when the play is called on, the hit and run is called on by the manager. That means the runner is definitely going and the hitter is swinging, not necessarily hitting, right? Because that's a performance issue, but the runner is going to be going. By that definition, it should add to the number of attempted steals. But here we're seeing the low hit and run team with the high steals actually has more attempts than the high hit and run team with the high steals. But on the low end, the high hit and run team has more attempts than the low hit and run team. But in the end, I agree with AW. I don't think either one is statistically significant. So it seems like it's noise. Now, I do agree with Smiley Face Jane and AW that we could potentially play with some of the player attributes to make the results pop more or less. But as it stands right now, I don't think we know enough to make that happen. But we do have packs to give away, so let's give away some packs. All right, so question one: which team will have the fewest? Everyone went with -5, -5. Smiley Face and having a player with one speed on first, but doing hit and run because the hitter settings say to. Yeah, I'm thinking more in terms of like I was thinking about playing more with the avoid K rating Smiley Face Jane and just making it more likely that they're gonna miss when they're being asked to hit and run. Okay, so was this even true? Everyone went with -5, -5. It was -5, -5 did have the fewest attempts with 12. All right, so it would have been tied anyway, but at least we're tied with everyone being correct. Okay, then which will have the most? -5 +5 had the most. I would have thought +5 +5, but it was -5 +5. All right. Oh, so hold on. Let me put the results back up and let me unhide the Twitch IDs. All right, let's let me unfilter first so we can see. Okay, so here's what we got. Now, on this second question, you would have lost me too, but we lost Smiley Face Jane and Clay Dog, who guessed what I would have guessed. That +5 +5 would have the most. Now, please remind me again. Like, I think, I mean, because it's what I believed, it makes sense to me. AW says use hit and run. Controls how often the batter will attempt to hit and run. Runner is forced to steal. Batter will swing at pitch to try to make contact. Overall hit and run chance is based on batter's contact ability and runner's speed. Overall, adjusting the setting impacts more how often the hit and run will be attempted, given that certain conditions are met, rather than who may try for a hit and run. I think that still doesn't change how I would have answered, though, because I still would have said on some of those attempts, some will miss, and the base runner is then going to record either a stolen base or a caught stealing. Oh, here's the thing though. But there are no high speed runners. Everyone has the same running speed and everyone has the same contact. But here's the thing though. You only have a specific number of instances where you have a runner on first base and a batter in the situation where they might hit and run. Now, sometimes they'll steal, but then if you're hit and running, you might be taking away some of those straight steal opportunities. And then of those hit and runs, some of those will be successful hit and runs, so you will not get a stolen base attempt. See, so I was thinking of it as it's you would steal, and on top of that, now you're going to hit and run. But what I wasn't factoring in was some of those hit and run attempts are going to take away from the straight steal attempts. And then if that's the case, then every successful hit and run takes away what could have been a straight steal attempt. And so therefore, the less you hit and run, the more steal attempts you should have, because then you just have straight steal attempts and none of them are taken away by the ball getting hit. So now I think I understand, right? Because the way I was thinking was the game would think stolen base or not, and then on top of that, then you would hit and run, and some of those result in additional steals. What I wasn't factoring in is it's not on top of, it's actually taken out of. Oh, yeah. Because you have a finite number of those situations. You can't just create those runner on first situations. Okay, now I get it. Okay, now it makes sense to me. Now the way this could happen makes sense to me. I was thinking about it completely the opposite way, that every hit and run is in addition to the stolen base attempts. But really, a lot of these hit and runs might be taking away a stolen base attempt. Okay, now this makes sense. I think I would have realized that sooner too if AW could have explained himself better to me. I got there eventually, though. I got there eventually. Okay. All right, so we need some tiebreakers. So the first tiebreaker is how many stolen bases by the team with the most attempts, or with the most attempts. And the answer is 803. So Max is the closest. Now, you know what? Had we done, we just take one winner at each tiebreaker, we would have gone to the next tiebreaker. And then the stolen bases by the fewest would be 12. And then that would have been AW. But since there were no ties here, we have to take both winners here. So it's gonna be Max in first place and Clay Dog in second place. But AW, you were shockingly close to this stolen base attempts with the team with the fewest. If I had asked that question first, you would have won. So first place, 7 packs of Max LP 80 with his 200, a guess of 200. There was 1/4 of the actual answer, but still in first place. And then Kladov with his 122, which is about between 1/6 and 1/7 of the actual answer. Good enough for second place, though. Wow. You know what? Let's bring back, just to see how close their guesses were. Let's bring back our two other contestants, Smiley Face Jane and Nolan. Okay, Smiley Face Jane would have won the tiebreaker on the most stolen base attempts. And then AW still would have gotten the one for the fewest. I'm telling you, Smiley Face Jane is really good at these uh guessing the number ones. Mostly by just like putting the highest answer. But there's no way to know in advance, so still really good at guessing the highest. All right, well, I learned something. I learned something that I have a natural bias towards thinking all these situations are additive when actually they're coming from this. They're actually there's only a limited amount of opportunities. So I need to think about that next time. This is a really good eye opener for me. That's really interesting. Like I just thought you just pile on more hit and run opportunities, but there's only a finite number of those chances, and I wasn't thinking about that. So my fishing was the highest and was still half of what it was. That's true. But you have a knack of coming up with the highest answer, which is great because in a lot of these sims is way higher than anyone thinks. And Smiley Face Jane is on the edge of that envelope, picking that highest number, even if it is half the total. You could think of it, Smiley Face Jane, as still being half of the total, or you can think of it as you were still almost 40% ahead of the next closest guesser. AW meant 880, not 88. That's awesome. All right. Well, this was a fun stream. This was a fun experiment. It's making me rethink a lot of my assumptions about how some of these things work. I really have to remember that there's a finite number of these opportunities when we talk about sliders. AW, I am now. Let's see. Oh, cool. AW sent me a link from the forums from 2009. Let's show this. Thank you, AW. I'll put the link in the stream too. I'm gonna post it, but this is courtesy of AW, so you can thank him. This is interesting stuff here. Let me resize this. So even if what I believed about how hit and run would work in the game, I mean, how it works in real life, I think is correct. But I was completely not factoring in the finite number of opportunities. And that was the weakness in my thinking. So here's offensive strategy. Stealing bases, right? How aggressive you are. Hit and run. How often the batter will attempt a hit and run. Now, so batter's contact ability, I'm assuming, is avoid K. Or is it talking about the contact that's calculated? Because there's actually a attribute called contact, which factors in avoid K and BABIP. It says contact ability. Does that mean that contact rating? I guess so, because for a successful hit and run, you're saying the most successful hit and run is a base hit where you go from first to third or first to home when you normally just get one base. And so you need the hit part, and the hit part is determined by contact, which is a combination of avoid K and BABIP. Hmm. Another experiment we could do too is if we crank up or crank down bunt for hit, do you actually end up with more or fewer hits? I mean, of course, that depends on your bunt for hit ability, but everyone's set at 125. AW says, what I'm finding interesting is a lot of these sliders don't just say do more or do less, it's widening the gaps or shrinking them based on the player's ratings. Hmm. That's true. Although for stealing, it says flat out, the more you will attempt to steal. And it's interesting, they're very transparent about an attempt to steal. It will lead to more caught stealing as you may try to steal at lower success chance opportunities. Hmm. So another way to do this would be if we crank up everyone's hit and run, but then we adjust each team's avoid K, right? Because lowering avoid K would not only decrease the chances of hits, it would also increase the chances of strikeouts. And the strikeout or the swing and miss. And the swing and miss is when you would get the more uh more attempted steals, right? Because on the one pitch where you're trying to hit and run, if you miss that pitch, you're going to have an attempted steal, successful or not. Oh, but you're saying you would run into fewer hit and run scenarios because their contact is lower? Since the criteria wouldn't be met. Okay, let me read that again. Controls how often the batter will attempt to hit and run. Okay. Overall hit and run chance. Okay, see, I'm reading that differently, AW. I'm reading the first part saying When I see overall hit and run chance, I'm reading that as the chance of success, but you're reading that as the chance of an attempt. Oh, you're right, because then it goes on to say overall, just in this setting impacts more often or more how often will be attempted. Well, then what happens if we go into the individual batters and crank up their hit and run? Because then we're saying for you, even though you might suck at contact, you're going to hit and run a lot. But again, also on this team, though, the chances of the conditions being met should be equal, right? Because everyone has the same contact rating, and all the base runners have the same speed and stolen base rating. So I think what this is doing, though, is it's giving me a lot more food for thought into like how it will play out in the base game in the wild when you have different quality hitters and different quality base runners. But at least within the experiment, it doesn't change what I learned. And what I learned is the hit and run opportunities come out of the stolen base opportunities, not in addition to the stolen base opportunities. But yeah, I think you're right, AW. There is some threshold for when it's attempted or not. But I guess my point is in this experiment, though, that threshold should have been the same for every batter and every runner. But this is good food for thought. I also wonder how much of this is still true 15 years later. You would think they wouldn't mess with it too much, but who knows? Like from 24 to 25, we saw a huge shift in how much PBABIP mattered. So could some of this have changed too? That's interesting. This is interesting stuff, though. Thank you for digging this up. Yeah, thanks for finding that and sending it. It's from oh, I thought it was from 2009. Oh, this is the join date. Sorry, the post. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking here at the join date. If the post date is April, sorry, April 20th, 2021. You're right. Yeah, sorry. This is much more recent than I thought. This is only 3 years old, 3.5 years old. No, yeah, yeah. Okay, but yeah, thanks for finding this. This is great. I'm actually going to reference this a lot, I think, when I design future experiments, because this will give me a little more insight into that. So, for example, one experiment I was thinking about doing this week before there was so much interest in the creator roster was I was going to give every team one power hitter because that would be the one hitter on every roster that you might want to either pitch around or intentionally walk. And then I was going to crank up the intentional walk slider and crank up the pitch around slider because the conventional wisdom seems to be, and it seems to come from what Mr. Black has researched, that you can crank up the pitch around an intentional walk and that the AI is supposedly good at picking the right situations to use it. So you don't have to worry about the AI being AI and messing it up. Or sorry, half the teams would have one clear power hitter because then it should only that team should get intentional walked. Only the team with the good hitter, the exceptional hitter, should get intentional walked. If it's true that the AI is good at distinguishing when to use pitch around or intentional walk. I don't know. I'm still kind of working out how that might work out, but these definitions will help. I'm going to read these again for pitch around intentional walk before I design that experiment. But I think it's going to apply for a bunch of experiments I've been thinking about testing. I want to test the whole theory that people have around the polo grounds that you want gap power pull hitters, or or frankly just any power pull hitters, because their belief is, well, they'll pull it to the short porches down the lines and avoid the big deep alley in center field. But again, I feel like those people are applying baseball logic to a video game. Do you know if the DH penalty thing people talk about is confirmed? Spyface Jane, I do not know that, and we can confirm that because, again, we can put one good power hitter on every team, or one good hitter on every team, and we can force the starting position. We can force them to play first base, or we can force them to play DH. And then we should be able to look at the ones that were assigned DH and see which stats are nerfed. So I think we can test for that. And yes, Spore has confirmed it, and I also believe in the forums, OOTP personnel have confirmed it. But it would still be fun to prove it in an experiment. The number I've always heard was 10%. I also heard a weird thing that the 10% nerfs everything except power, which I thought was an interesting assertion. And that would be fun to test too. And I think I know how we can test it. Um, yeah. But yeah, AW, thanks for this. And you heard it was just contact. Okay. I heard it was contact and I, but it did not affect power. But it seems like the kind of thing we could test for. Just saying. Maybe we'll wait to do it until AW's back from paternity leave. OTP paternity leave. AW, which time zone are you in? Because anything other than West Coast, and it's starting to get closer and closer to induction day. The Polo Grounds test you're interested in is testing wall distances. All right, you're in Mountain Time. Okay, so it's 1 a.m. for you. We're getting closer and closer to the morning time. Our oldest was induced, so I remember that feeling of like it was weird knowing it was definitely happening that day, and like going to bed knowing the next morning it was definitely happening, and then also waking up, although not sleeping much, but waking up the next morning knowing, okay, we're going. It was like going in for an appointment. We're going in, and this thing is happening. She might get the call at 6 a.m. Yeah, it's getting closer. Good old Schmied. Schmied Dubby. Sci-Fi Jam has done a couple of games sims with the fields you made with. Oh yeah, that's right. You made the fields with the crazy wall distances. All the home runs were inside the park, but would be hit all the way to the wall. Oh, that's amazing. Hit one D block. We just finished our experiment today. Schmied Caldwell W. And then I thought it was Smeed, and then your other kids were Schmear and DeBlock. Well, by the time we next see AW in the chat, his life will be much more different than it is right now. Daily low diamond not going to be done by the time you fall asleep. All right. Well, this was good. I like this one. it was not what I expected, but it definitely taught me an important lesson about how to think about how these things play out. Basically, like about the number of opportunities and that they're finite. And changing the slider does not necessarily change the amount of opportunities. And I think that's doubly reinforced by the article that AW sent us. So this is really cool. All right, let's find where we're going to raid you all tonight. But thanks for hanging around. Thanks to a Max LP80 for the raid and being flexible on the timing and letting me start earlier so I could go to bed earlier tonight. Let me see if there's a sumo tournament going on right now. I think the tournament's not done yet. Let me take a peek. Okay, right now it's like documentary stuff. So I don't know if they're just killing time between tournaments or matches or what. Let me see what else. Let me see what Sensei Martian's up to. Oh, Ophi just came online too. That's another option. All right, AW. In honor of your your impending big event in the morning, why don't you choose? Do you want me to raid into Midnight Sumo, Sensei Martian, or Ophi and Stitch? So here's some info. Sensei Martian is walking. He's on like a rural road with some buildings. The sumo. Oh, they just cut to the tournament. It does look like there's a tournament tonight. Sumo. Okay. AW. In honor of your big news tomorrow, big event tomorrow, we are going to raid into Midnight Sumo. It looks like they are about to start some tournament coverage, so it's good time for that. And it's limited, so I think we should take advantage while we can. Thanks all for being here. Congratulations to our winners, Max LP80 and Clay Dog, first and second place. And tomorrow night, right? Tomorrow night, Smiley Face Jane is going to be doing the create a roster game. So hopefully you can join us to check that out and see how well the player creation and season goes. All right, let's raid into Midnight Sumo. Good luck tomorrow, AW. Good luck. I hope everything goes super well. All right. See y'all in there and good night, everybody.